Welcome to the Honolulu Cheese Podcast, the pretty much #1 NFC North podcast. I'm your host, Matt. Joining me as always, my co-hosts, Ryan and Moran. This week, we're joined by a very, very, very special guest. His name, KP, Kevin Powell. He is the afternoon sports anchor from WGN Radio in Chicago, 7:20 a.m., and the host of the WGN Radio Football Podcast. Kevin, thanks so much for hopping on. How we doing?
I am great. I'm ready to talk some ball with you fellas. Let's get into it.
Excellent. Ryan, Moran, how we feeling, boys?
I want to extend Kevin a thank you right away for coming on, and I will point out that as a Lions fan, this is the first time I've been outnumbered on this podcast. So 2 Bears fans in one show. Let's do it, man.
That's right. Moran, you haven't said a word. You've just been staring with a death stare right in KP's eyes. I like the ferocity.
I just want him to know who I am. No. Thank you for being here. It's pretty cool that on such short notice you joined us. So
yeah,
much appreciated.
Awesome. Well, boys, we actually got a little bit of news this week. So, I don't know if you guys heard, but Brock Purdy, 5 years, $265 million, 181 guaranteed for Brock Purdy. Hard not to be happy for him. Miro, what were your thoughts when you saw the Purdy news come across?
I mean, Purdy owns us, so I can't even hate on the guy. I don't think he's worth it, but more power to him. They dumped a bunch of guys and, in expectation they were going to do this, but that's a lot of bread. A lot of bread.
A lot of cheddar. Ryan, what do we think? You're an expert on paying a guy who's got a lot of weapons, a lot of money. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm also an expert on getting owned by mildly mobile quarterbacks, and he was one of them. And I mean, I know down the road this is going to blow up in San Fran's face. Like, it reminds me so much of the Jared Goff deal because everybody claims that Goff is carried, and Brock Purdy's just the definition of carried. So,
for sure.
I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to work out in their favor, but more power to Brock. Happy for him. Pay the guy.
KP, you paying Brock Purdy? You got any issues with that?
No, not at all. I mean, here in Chicago, we've never had a franchise quarterback, and it's funny how, first of all, are you going to pay that money, or what's the alternative here? You're just not going to have a quarterback? You're going to move on from Brock Purdy because of where he was drafted, because of the way people view him physically and talented? I think we always talk about how important the quarterback position is, and also how difficult that position is in the NFL. And everyone's just totally dismissing Brock Purdy's success. Like, he was just dropped in. Yes, he was dropped into a good situation with at the time, one of the most complete rosters in the NFL. Is his head coach one of the best play callers in the NFL? Of course. But are we just forgetting how difficult it is still to be a good quarterback? So everyone's just like, oh, this guy's a system quarterback in the NFL. No. You got to pay the guy, all right? So what are you going to do, move on from Brock Purdy and then catch yourself look at Pittsburgh, right? They're desperate to find a quarterback since moving on from Ben. Bears have never had that quarterback. They might now. But it's just when teams paid Purdy and they're like, wow, that just seems a little high. I'm like, for what? That's the going rate for a quarterback who's, 25 years old, threw for 3,800 yards, 4,200 yards 2 seasons ago. I mean, what do people want? So what if he's not the most talented? You're just going to cycle through trash quarterbacks over and over, and you're really going to put that much on Shanahan and other pieces in place, which obviously have helped him. But I don't think Purdy gets enough appreciation, in my opinion.
From what I've been hearing, though, Colin Kaepernick is still working out. So
for teams, he's ready. If anybody needs him, he's ready.
The ripe age of 35 or whatever the hell
he's
he is.
older than that, like 38.
He's ready. Yeah, when I saw the Purdy news come across, Brock Purdy just feels like, unless you're Moran and he's, kind of giving your team fits, he just seems like a really hard guy not to root for. Last pick in the draft. I mean, you're going to a team that literally just mortgaged everything they have for the next 3 years to trade for Trey Lance. They still have Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster. Like, This guy had no chance to be a above average NFL starter. And here we are. His first contract was 4 years for just over $3 million. His next one, he'll make a little more than that. So cost of living in San Francisco is pretty high. Really stoked for Brock Purdy. We'll see how it works, right? I always say the thing in the NFL that really tends to torpedo teams is paying guys you can win with, like guys you can win because of. We'll see how this shakes out. So definitely be interesting. Wasn't the only move the Niners made. They also locked up Fred Warner for an additional 3 years at $63 million, making him the highest paid linebacker in football for the second time in his career. I'll assume nobody has a problem with that. Fred Warner is an absolute G. Anybody got any issues other than, yep, that's what they should have paid Fred Warner?
If anyone does have an issue, I might fight them. Fred Warner is one of my favorite non-Lions there is, and I just always love watching him. There's no other way to say it. He's just always flying around the field. He's just super fun to watch.
Yeah, he is one of those players that just stands out, right? Like, you don't have to go back and review the tape. His play just stands out every time you watch Frisco. I don't know all their numbers. I mean, you just gave Purdy a huge deal, but sure, pay the man. One of the best, if not the best linebackers in the NFL.
100%. And they earlier this offseason, I think they paid Kittle too. So they're taking care of their guys. They'll, maybe down the line they'll have an issue.
I mean, it is a team that for a couple of years looked so close, right? And then last year, a lot of injuries. What did they go? 6 wins, 7 wins last year?
Yeah, probably, because they were picking right after the Bears. They were picking 11, so they probably won 6-7 games.
But I think if you're Frisco, remember the insane narrative being pushed about trading for Shanahan? Like the 49ers were just going to close that window. I think 49ers this offseason are like, no, the window's still there. Like, we have a quarterback we can win with, who prior to this last season had gone, 17-4 as a starter with a great team around him. But I think the 49ers were like, yeah, let's lock up some dudes here. We've still got a window.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, paying Fred Warner, no issue there. Guy's amazing. Wasn't he also playing last year on a broken ankle? That comes out week 14. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, Fred Warner broke his ankle week 7. He's averaging 12 tackles a week since. What an absolute gangster. Miro, no issues with Fred Warner?
No, I just want to backtrack to 1 second with the contract for Purdy. Did you hear Ryan indirectly shit on Jared Goff, or was that just me?
Kind of noticed that as well. I think that was incidental. We'll have to review the footage.
Allow me to backtrack then. I was just comparing him because a lot of people say Goff is carried. I don't feel that way. I'm just putting it out there that that's the general public opinion on Jared Goff. That's all.
Hey, people are saying it. You're just not people.
But guess what? We're going to find out this year, though, because now we have John Morton calling the plays, and there's no Ben Johnson excuse.
I was just going to say, the mortgage company downtown, nothing clarifies like clarity. That's all I wanted to make sure of.
And we'll be very clear this year.
Getting it in there. And then we had a couple Eagles notes. They extended Nick Sirianni, kind of the standard, win a Super Bowl, get a new contract. Probably was tough for Eagles fans to see that coming after 2023. A lot of Eagles fans were calling for Nick Sirianni's head, even though he went to the Super Bowl and lost the year prior. But yeah, best job in sports as a fired coach. So should he find himself out of work, I'm sure he'll have no issues whatsoever. And then in a move that I found pretty surprising, it sounded like the tush push was really working toward being banned. A word comes out today that the league did not vote. They needed 75% of the votes, so they needed 24 votes to ban it. They got 22. 22-10 was the final. Moran, as a fan of the team that wanted to introduce the tush push, what say you?
So, right before we jumped on, a report came out that the league actually forced the Packers to push for this.
Oh,
not that it matters. It's
Is that
just
because they have no owner, so there's no one they could be mad at?
Correct.
I like that.
Correct.
I like that.
Wait,
But
are you a part-time are you a Packer owner? Did you buy the total scam of a stock from the Green Bay Packers?
Are you talking about the Bears or the Packers that I own? Just making sure. But yes, I am.
You're
am an
a dual
owner.
owner. Congratulations.
Yes,
Living
I am.
large.
Yes.
I don't even know you could own 2 franchises. We're gonna have to review the collective bargaining agreement here to see if we can if that's even allowed.
Yeah, I'm honestly just so sick of hearing about the tush push. Like,
I know.
That's
not
how
I feel.
It's not a football play. If you want to keep doing it, that's fine. We'll stop it again like we did last year in the playoffs. Go for it. That's no problem.
I mean, I don't think there's any more of a football play than the tush push, to be honest with you. What's more rugged and manly than just taking the ball and having your
a guy
whole
grab
team
your
push?
ass? Yeah, pretty manly to me.
Or
Yeah,
that, if that's how you want to look at it.
My stance has always just been just stop it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's just kind of where I've been with it. Like, I understand they've perfected it, and Ben Johnson was asked about it today, and he kind of just made a joke, like, I'm not interested in tush push. That's just where my stance has been. It's like they're so good at something, you got to take it away from them. I've never been on that side of getting rid of it. If they can do it this well, why isn't anyone else doing it this well? And also, why can't anyone stop it? So, to me, my stance has always just been figure out a way to stop it, period.
I will say there have been times in the 4 professional sports where some teams have been so good at something that it leads to a major rule change. I thought today about, I'm not sure if you guys are baseball savants or whatever, but when Bob Gibson was dominating on the mound in like the 60s for the Cardinals, I believe, they like raise the mound up because
they lowered it.
Yeah. Thank you. That's what it was.
Yeah.
They lowered the mound because his ERA was like 0.75 every year, and they were just sick of watching this guy dominate for 9 innings and then going home. So
and that wasn't even like a team. That was just Bob Gibson.
That was one player.
Bob Gibson is too good. We have to lower the mound. People are afraid of him.
Yeah.
They did the same thing with the shift. When they did the shift change,
100%.
there was a couple teams that were dominant at the shift, and they're like, no, we're good.
Yeah. So I think if this goes on for a little while longer with the Eagles, like, don't be surprised if it's just the offseason talk every year until it's banned. Because
I wouldn't be surprised if at some point it does get banned, especially if it continues. Also, Eagles owner Jeff Lurie, I think I saw the report that he brought Jason Kelce with him to the
meeting.
Yeah, and
that's awesome.
That's
awesome. And then also, it sounds like it got pretty heated. I mean, how heated for NFL owners standards, I don't know. I don't think George McCaskey threw a chair or anything, but it sounds like it did get pretty heated in there. So
just to piggyback off that, they brought in Jason Kelce because apparently there was like some secret teams that were saying we want it banned because Jason Kelce retired because of the tush push. And he's like, no, that's not true.
Well, that's it, because stuff I had never even heard about with the tush push kind of came out this offseason that no one had been talking about at all. I think it was teams really trying to find angles, because all of a sudden there was stuff like, well, we need to look into the health and injuries from the tush push. We need to look into pace of play. I'm like, where are they pull? I'm like, I can't think of any major injuries. I have heard Kelce talk though in the past just about how, I mean, you're the center. Like that's a tough play for the center. I mean, he's snapping the ball and putting his head down. But I think some of that stuff this offseason was just kind of put out there. I mean, injury and health and pace of play was like, I don't know if it might get banned eventually, but at least one more year of it.
Health and safety of the players. We'll see you for 30 games in 2 years.
Yeah, right. The NFL cares about player safety when it's convenient. So that's what you got to do, you know? All right, but so the tush push is here to stay. Draft Jalen Hurts in your fantasy leagues without any hesitation whatsoever. Other bit of news that came across right before we started recording, not a ton of details out on it. Jim Irsay, longtime owner of the Colts, passed away. So yeah, just wanted to mention RIP Mr. Irsay. controversial figure at times, but definitely, a monumental figure in the history of the league. So, best wishes from the Honolulu Cheese Podcast to the Irsay family. Only 65, so definitely gone too soon, Mr. Irsay. So, hope that they keep the roof open for you for home games this year, so you can watch from upstairs. On to our main topic of discussion. We wanted to get into we've got Kevin on. We just kind of wanted to review the Bears offseason, get the opinion of somebody who is, at Hallis Hall on a daily or semi-daily basis, hosts his own Bears podcast, like I mentioned, the WGN Radio Football Podcast. So, just really quick, gonna run through the Bears offseason in a nutshell, and then we'll just kind of go from there. We'll get everyone's thoughts on what we liked, what we didn't like. Are we buying? Are we selling? All right, so the Bears offseason in review. Coaching changes, hired Ben Johnson as head coach and Dennis Allen as defensive coordinator. Obviously fired Matt Eberflus after the Thanksgiving Day fiasco last year. Key departures, the Bears said goodbye to Gerald Everett, DeMarcus Walker, Keenan Allen, Tevin Jenkins, Coleman Shelton, and Matt Pryor. They acquired Jonah Jackson from the Rams in exchange for a 6th-round pick, also extended Jackson through 2027. Acquired Joe Thuney from the Chiefs in exchange for a 2026 4th-round pick. Just extended Joe Thuney yesterday, actually, for an additional 2 years at $34 million, so 17 per. Another nice payday for Joe Thuney. Well-deserved. Was really happy to see the Bears lock him up. And then for signings, tight end Durham Smythe, 1 year, $2.5 million. Defensive tackle Grady Jarrett, 3 years, $42 million. Defensive end Dayo Odengbo, 3 years, $48 million. Center Drew Dahlman, 4 years, $42 million. Wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus, 1 year, $1.5 million. Quarterback Case Keenum, 1 year, $2 million.
Future starter.
Extended both Kyler Gordon at 3 years, $40 million, and linebacker TJ Edwards at 2 years, $20 million. In the draft, they took Colston Loveland, tight end from Michigan, in round 1. And then in the 2nd round, Luther Burden, wide receiver from Missouri, Ozzie Trapillo, tackle from Boston College, and Shamar Turner, defensive tackle from Texas A&M. Kevin, want to go to you first here. Just overall thoughts on the Bears offseason. What did we like? What did we not like? What did we think may happen? Just kind of wanted to get your overall feel. Are we buying or are we selling what the Bears are cooking?
Well, I think the biggest win was Ben Johnson and really not having to do a whole bunch to recruit him other than sign the check and figure out a contract, because Ben Johnson said he told the Bears front office, McCaskey, Kevin Warren, that he wanted the job. He started the interview with that. That was a big win. I thought, and look, it worked out. They landed Ben Johnson. No, if it doesn't work out with Ben Johnson, nobody can complain. Nobody can say anything. This was the top guy this offseason, and honestly, probably the top guy last offseason too. I thought going into last year, the optimism got a little out of control. The hype got a little out of control. I was not big on keeping Matt Eberflus for another season. I had concerns about the offensive line, and both were a major issue last year. So this offseason, they addressed the head coaching situation. They actually addressed it, as you said, moving on from Eberflus during the season. And then landing Ben Johnson, I thought, was massive. And then being aggressive by trading for Thuney and Jackson and signing Dahlman and all of that. I think some of the struggles for the Bears on the offensive line, I think it really, the interior part of the offensive line, which has just been a rotation of guys over the past few years that has not been solidified at all. And it kind of feels like it is now. Although I keep trying to take a step back, being like, okay, what do they have here? They got a 32-year-old left guard. Yes, he's a stud, back-to-back All-Pro. They've got Dahlman, who the Falcons let walk into free agency, and Jonah Jackson, who just that did not work out in his previous situation. So I think sometimes it's like, all right, a team needs a left guard. They sign a left guard. Everyone's like, oh, hey, there we go. They fixed it. But that's not always the case. I feel much, much better about the offensive line now compared to last year, like by far. There's still a big question mark about Braxton Jones. What is he going to be? How healthy will he be? He's coming off a serious ankle injury. Not to get too long-winded, but and I know we have all made the joke, the Bears offseason champions. We know, we get it.
13th time.
Yeah, this feels like a really good offseason. I think, one other point too, I was not like team the Bears need to address the running back room. Like it was some major crisis. They have to get Genty, and if they don't get Genty, they've got to sign someone else. In my opinion, I think DeAndre Swift that's untapped potential in Ben Johnson's offense. And you might not have that 1-2 punch that Detroit has, where Ben Johnson came from, but this is just my opinion. I just don't think I feel like fans have completely written off DeAndre Swift, and I think Swift is going to totally thrive in Ben Johnson's offense. I just think if we really are all in on Johnson's play calling ability and being creative, there's something else there with DeAndre Swift. Now, do I feel great about that? The rest of the running backs, not necessarily, but I just didn't think it was a huge priority. So I think DeAndre Swift people are sleeping on, and I think he could be in for a good kind of under the radar big year with the Bears this season. So overall good. And I think that, there's pressure on Caleb as the number one pick. There was a ton of pressure last year. He's dealt with pressure now for a while. But the pressure really amps up on Caleb in year 2. I mean, if we're not seeing it midway through the second year from Caleb, like that's real cause for concern. And I don't think Caleb was bad last year. He was in a horrible offense. The Shane Waldron had no clue what he was doing. That was kind of mean. I shouldn't say that, but it was a total disaster with Shane Waldron. So I just think it feels like more things are in place now. And I was actually kind of happy that report last week came out, and Ben Johnson today said he talked to Caleb about it. It's like, why wouldn't you, Right. I was glad to hear Ben Johnson say that. I was worried people were going to dance around it. It really wasn't even that, it wasn't anything bad in my opinion, what came out in the ESPN from the book. So I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling, but I think overall a lot of good things were added, whether it's coaches, whether it's to the roster. I would say my concerns right now would probably be that left tackle spots. And the defensive line, I still just think, and they've got some young talent there, but I still think they need one more game wrecker up front defensively, to really be an elite defense, but a lot of good pieces in place. It's just a matter of winning games now.
So Kevin, let me ask you, as a former, person holding out for DeAndre Swift and his success, okay? We as Lions fans thought the same thing. We all saw the talent, right? Like the talent when we drafted him, we were all very excited. This guy's got a cool ass name. He's quick. He's shifty. He can catch the ball, right? Oh, that's above and all for first and foremost his name.
Sick name. How could he be bad?
It is for a running back. Come on. But the talent's there. But for some reason, it just never all came together. And I'll always remember the Hard Knocks clip where oh my God, our coach from Philly, the one whose name escapes me at the moment. Someone help me out if you have it. But DeAndre Swift didn't read it right, and he hit the hole kind of weak, and the coach just went in on him. And that was his last season there. It just didn't work out, and he just never seemed to put it all together. So I know that Bears fans are your new Jesus is Ben Johnson, and that's understood. He had a lot of success or whatever. But I think that all these expectations are coming with it. And it's he's going to fix everything. Our line's going to be great. Our running back's going to improve. Our quarterback's going to improve. Everything's just going to be great. And I think there has to be a tempering of expectations similar to last offseason, like you mentioned, where it's this might take some time to gel. So I just wanted your opinion on that.
I'm not sending them to the Super Bowl. I mean, right now I have them in that 8, 9, maybe 10 win range right now for the Bears. So a lot of good talent. And yeah, I mean, there were some cringy, people love to do the little Twitter video of 20 seconds of a horrible moment for a quarterback or a running back. There were some of those with Swift. And that was interesting to hear. So maybe it's wishful thinking. I don't think Ben Johnson's going to fix it all. I just think that I guess I should just probably put it more so that I'm less concerned about the running back room as a lot of Bears fans seem to be. Maybe it's just because a lot of them wanted Genty, or they should have addressed a running back earlier in the draft. And that, they can still sign someone. A lot of time left,
I think that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Moran, a lot of excitement here. I need you to pour some cold water on the Bears.
No,
offseason.
not pouring cold water, but football's a dangerous sport to just sign a bunch of people and think it's gonna work. Like, continuity is a big thing in football, especially on an offensive line. I think signing all those guys is great, but getting them all to mesh and gel that quickly it'd be impressive if it happens. And Ryan, you were thinking of Deuce Staley, by the way.
Yes, I was.
Just didn't
Thank
want
you.
to interrupt
Deuce
you.
Staley, also a great name.
Shout out,
great name.
Deuce Staley, all
Deuce
time.
Staley.
Hurt to lose him.
No, I'm with you, and that was kind of my point. It's like, I think sometimes it's like, okay, you look at the holes on the roster, and whether it's a left guard or a right guard or a center or a receiver, whatever position it is, and a team does address the position by, let's just say they need a receiver, a 2, and the team signs a receiver, and that everyone's like, oh, there's your 2, that's your guy. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like, you don't just plug and play and everything's perfect because you filled a hole. There is so much that goes into it. So yeah, that's why I'm not like, maybe I'm not riding. Matt, I think I texted you this. I don't know, maybe a month or so ago. Maybe I'm just not riding as high on the Bears as others seem to be right now. Not that I'm down on them. It's just like, let's not get ahead of ourselves yet. They have to win games,
Yeah, no, exactly. I always joke with Ryan and Moran. While I'm optimistic, my optimism is like pretty guarded, because in the back of my mind, I'm like, if for some reason this isn't it, like the Caleb Williams pick that wasn't yours and the Ben Johnson hire that everyone wanted and the weapons and this, like, if this doesn't work, what am I going to do? Like, where are we going to go from here? So in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, this year, like, the offensive line gels a little bit. We win a few more games, and then, like, we ascend from there would be ideal. Like, the people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to just fire on Caleb for MVP, Ben Johnson for Coach of the Year. This, like, God bless, spend your money where you can, but I think, like, with the schedule, with the division, like, the expectations are, they should be like, yeah, the Bears should look better than they were. Like, Matt Eberflus was a moron, all due respect, and Shane Waldron, like, could read 10 books and still be short of a moron from the play calling we saw last year. It just wasn't great. So yeah, kind of like Moran always talks about, like, you can't even really look at last year for Caleb. Like, it was kind of like was detailed in the Seth Wickersham book, like you mentioned, KP. It was like, if Caleb Williams had a conversation at the Combine or wherever with Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron, and then he had a conversation with Kevin O'Connell, and he, like, his verdict was like, man, I'd rather play for the Vikings.
Yeah.
Well, then good.
And also throw to Justin Jefferson while I'm doing it. Yeah, like that. I don't know if you guys touched on this already, but that I just thought the Wickersham thing was it was interesting because it was sort of a behind the scenes look, and there was some stuff that we didn't know what his dad was, trying to pull. But to your point, Matt, when you take a step back, none of it's really surprising. There's nothing bad about Caleb in there. There's nothing. Maybe his dad was going a little bit too far about ripping Chicago or whatever they were planning.
Nuking it or whatever they said, yeah.
But, like, yeah, you're Caleb Williams. Like, this is the modern player who's, like, being groomed to be the top pick and a Heisman winner and has the talent. Yeah, that's okay to look at all options to see what is the best option for your son. And if you're Caleb, like you said, Matt, it is a place quarterbacks go to die. So, but I will say the one, not trying to spin zone it here, but I will say after all of that, kind of reading how the pre-draft process all went down, you would never know any of that from Caleb's demeanor, from the way Caleb carried himself. Being at Hallis Hall, all of his press conferences are engaging, which I can't say that about other quarterbacks that have been at Hallis Hall. He didn't mope. There was that didn't exist. So, and going into the draft, remember all this dumb stuff said about Caleb, like the nail painting, and he got emotional in the stands that one game at USC. Like none of that factored in at all last year in a negative way, at all. So, as of now, I think Caleb has shown, at least from what we've seen in some of those press conferences, like I think he can be that dude that's your leader of your football team, or at least the leader of the offense.
I will say, as a Lions fan last year, I was impressed with Caleb's poise and leadership when it comes to not even just like the game, but more so like what you just said, like all the negative flack he came in with, the nail painting, the blah, blah, blah. Like he handled it all very gracefully, which is very hard to do when your coach is a moron and he's out there costing you games. Like it would have been very easy for Caleb to freak the fuck out and just say like, I'm done with this. Like, yeah, I'm done with this. But, just like lose his cool, right? And he never really like cracked under that.
Or even just like kind of like, push blame outward. Mm-hmm. Like, it would have been easy for him to get up there and be like, well, dude, I don't know. But like, it was always me. It was always I got to do this better, me. And like, that's easy to do when you feel like you're playing bad and like you've got the stuff around you to succeed. But like, not looking back, with goggles on the 2024 season and what a disaster it sounds like the Bears locker room was, feels like it would have been really easy for him to be like, dude, I don't know, man. I've been here for 8 weeks. Like our coach got fired, our OC got fired. Like, I don't really know. And he was always like, pointing thumbs inward for blame, which I think says a lot about just like the kind of dude that he is, because no one would have been blaming him if he was like, well, I don't know, dude, my O-line is terrible and my play calling is awful and we're trying to run go routes and I got a second to throw.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if he said that, I think all of us would be like, yeah, we get it. We understand. We know, Caleb.
Yeah.
You don't.
We agree, Caleb.
And I don't mean to oversell it. I mean, there could be a story coming out down the road that we don't know about, but like from everything I've heard and people I've talked to, he has handled it pretty well. So that's good.
Yeah, no, I mean, and the dudes on Hard Knocks, seem to be one of the boys. So that's always good when you're a QB. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm jacked that the Bears have Caleb. And I think some of the Joe Thuney move gets a lot of buzz, rightfully so. The Jonah Jackson move. I really think like having a veteran center like Drew Dahlman, who's like really, really smart. It just takes so much off of like diagnosing defenses from the quarterback. One thing that I personally kind of expressed concern about heading into last year for Caleb being a rookie was not having a veteran QB on the roster. Like, Tyson Bagent is fine. He's a solid NFL backup quarterback, but, just having a dude like Case Keenum around who's been in the league for so long, like teach you how to prepare, like just like learning how to be a pro. I think that could have been super beneficial last year. So definitely excited that, this year he'll be around. He'll have somebody to lean on, not only Ben Johnson, not only, Declan Doyle and the offensive staff, but, just like going to a dude who's been there, he's been a starter, he's been a backup, like, dude, what do you do in a situation like this? What do I do? Because like all due respect to Tyson Bagent, like guy was in the league for a year as an undrafted free agent. Like it's not really someone you can go to with like a ton of advice. Like it's just not going to work.
Also, on that note, Matt, I think it's hard for any QB to start from day one. And I get that he was first overall and that's not really a choice when you're the first overall quarterback. But look how much other quarterbacks benefited just from sitting a year behind a veteran quarterback, like you said, and just taking it all in and getting your feet under you. Like he hit the ground running with a bad offensive line and a bad coach, and which just makes me more impressed for his leadership. I have not a bad thing to say about Caleb, like outside of his play last year. And his play, you can point to all these other reasons we're talking about. And speaking of the importance on the offensive line, Ben Johnson's success as an offensive coordinator, the first thing you look at from the Lions is our offensive line. without our offensive line, Ben Johnson's offense doesn't work. Like, look at how good our run game is. Look at how our receivers get open. It's all because Goff has time and they have space. That's what it all comes down to. But I agree with Moran in that everything is going right on paper for sure. And I get the excitement, and I'm not here to rain on parades or be sour grapes about Ben Johnson leaving. I just think, especially for the offensive line, well, a little bit. I just think for the offensive line, it will probably take some time for it to gel. So don't be surprised if the Bears come out week 1 with 16 points and everyone's like, oh my God, is Ben Johnson really the answer? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm just waiting for it. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad hire or that it's not going to go well.
Well, for sure. And like, you know, in a world where like, if you wanted to, you know, go through the pessimistic outcome, like Joe Thuney's 32. He hasn't missed a ton of games, but, you know, he's 32. He's played a lot of football. He's been in the league for 11 years. He's missed 2 games. Jonah Jackson, really good player when he's healthy, does miss a lot of time. So, like, you know, Drew Dahlman, new team, little bit undersized. You know, there's it's not like, you know, when you're trading for dudes are available for a reason, right? Via trade. Dudes are available for a reason via free agency. Like, these aren't perfect players by any means. Like, the Chiefs chose to keep Trey Smith and move on from Joe Thuney. As much as Joe Thuney was, you know, he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. He is an unbelievable player. I think he's got 4 rings. Like, you know, the guy's played a lot of football. He's an offense. He's a guard. Like, you could break down. Like, you never know. So I love the moves that they made. It seems like guards and centers in free agency were getting just fat bags of cash. So definitely, you know, think that they use their resources well. As far as the draft goes, Moran, we talked about it a little bit. If you were the Bears and a tackle, one of the big 3 that went before the Bears drafted, had fallen to number 10, you think the Bears would have been well served to go tackle when they picked Colston Loveland? Kind of, I know it really wasn't available, but like, what in a perfect world, let's say Kelvin Banks and Loveland were there, do you think the Bears would have been better off going tackle, or you like the Loveland?
I don't like the Loveland pick because they took the wrong tight end. But if there was one of those tackles available, I would say no way, because of how much you invested on the line. You can't then invest a first. I think it would be nuts. So okay. I don't mind that they went Loveland. I do mind because the wrong tight end again, but like, I get what they were trying to do. But
so everything Ryan was saying about Ben Johnson and the offensive line and building like inside out, that for me, going into the draft, Matt, I told you this, I was just all in, get another offensive lineman. I don't care that you invested all that money into a free agent. They might not work. Thuney's 32. It doesn't matter. You have question marks in Braxton Jones' health moving forward. To me, it would have been a perfect opportunity, especially when you already had pieces like DJ and Rome and Komet around Caleb, to actually invest into a young, like, long-term solution at left tackle, which they haven't had in a long time. So I didn't dislike the Bears draft. It's just when I was doing my own mock inside my head, it just didn't fall the way I wanted it to fall. I guess
you were picturing more fat guys.
I wanted the bigger dudes. I wanted some big fellas up front. No, I was all in on, if I think, and it's funny too, because that win over your Green Bay Packers, if they lose that game, then they would have had their chance at Banks. You know, they would have had their chance.
Or probably Membo, yeah.
Yeah, they would have had a chance at one of those offensive linemen, but they didn't. So
we always end up winning somewhere.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. you sons of bitches, you find a way, you know.
God damn it! Now I just know Kelvin Banks is an extra Orlando base.
Yeah, right.
So
Banks is certified Hall of Famer.
Just a follow-up question on that, though. If you guys draft a lineman, he sits for 2 years, 3 years. Are you okay with that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if you think Caleb's your future, and you think Caleb's going to be here for the next 10 years, don't you want the left tackle of the next 5 to 10 years?
Yes,
I do. But when you're a Bears fan and you see your quarterback getting drilled for the last 3 years, and the guys you drafted first round, you know what's going to come out. Why isn't he playing? Why isn't he playing? Why isn't he playing? Like,
I mean,
The Bears
I think-
O-line has been so bad that, like, if a first round top 10 guy was sitting for 2 years,
That's
that meant
true,
like
yeah.
everyone else is
Yeah.
playing well and healthy.
That's
I would
fair.
sign up for that 100 times out of
That's fair.
100.
Yeah. So I think, again, I think overall, like the draft, sure. I thought they addressed a lot of areas. I was a little surprised with the receiver pick Burden, who already seems to be dealing with something. I thought it was a solid haul. It just, again, it didn't, the way I played it out in my head. I'm like, all right, well, ideally, I thought Banks had the best chance to drop to them. And then Banks went, 8 or 9 or whatever it was?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that kind of left me a little bit like, it could have gone better in my opinion. But, another
Can I just use like the obvious term? Like, was Loveland a luxury pick?
Yeah.
Because you already have
No.
DJ Moore, you have
No.
Rome, who you just drafted last year, you have Swift, who you guys like. He's okay, right? Like you guys mentioned it before. You have Cole Kmet, who was serviceable already.
Yeah, but a luxury pick is when that position's already solidified, and Cole Kmet is very far from that. So
Or,
it's pretty
I also
average,
think-
bro. He's not bad.
I mean, average is not what you want to be. Like,
I also think, though, like, had there been like a screaming positional need, top of the board talent at 10, like if there had just been like an edge rusher or a guard or whatever that was like, oh, this is like the best player on the board. Like the tackles were kind of gone. All the edge guys were kind of gone. Like if you pick the best player on your board, which by all accounts, everyone always says, right? Oh, this guy was number 1 on our board. This guy was number 2, So like, if he's really the best player on your board, Luther Burden struck me when that pick was made. I was like, whew, that feels like a luxury pick. The Colston Loveland one felt like that's, the best player on the board at a position that's super important in a Ben Johnson offense. So I definitely see where you're coming from. I just felt like I was making the joke on here, like if the Bears called me when they were on the clock at pick 10 and they're like, Matt, we'll pick whoever you want. Who do you want us to pick? I would have been like, the guys I wanted all went. What do you guys think?
And I think most would have said the Penn State tight end.
Tyler Warren.
So
the better tight end.
I think if Banks or one of those tackles was there and Loveland was still available, I personally would have been all over taking the tackle over Loveland. So
also, every one of our listeners has been there at a fantasy football draft where you really wanted a guy and he gets taken right before you, and then it gets through and you're like, shit.
Snipe. Oh, you're walking up to the
it's the worst.
You're walking up to the draft board to put your Mike Wallace sticker on there, and somebody grabs Mike Wallace right in front of you. Oh, God.
I was going to say, we talked about it pre-draft about the edges, too. We talked about how a first-round pick could be a third. Like, a guy that was supposed to go first could be in the third, and a third can go in the first, and we wouldn't be surprised. And it played out that way, if you think about it. There's a lot of good players that went late.
Yeah, and I was talking about how, like, I really don't like in the top 10 when the Bears specifically, I guess, but all teams just bet on traits like, wow, Shamar Stewart is awesome. Like, why do you have 2 sacks? Jalen Walker, I don't know, he weighs 260. And the guy that I kind of liked was Mike Green from Marshall. He went at like pick 58. So like, clearly that wasn't the pick at 10. Like his off-field issues, but I was just like, this is a dude who just gets to the quarterback. Give me a dude who gets to the quarterback.
We saw that with the Bears in free agency. With Odengbo as a guy who you're paying for, you're projecting more production, right? And then Grady Jarrett, you paid him for pass production. You know what I mean? So like,
For sure.
I thought that was just sort of an interesting way Ryan Poles addressed it, where Odengbo does not have the stats, right, to back up a long-term deal, but everybody seems so high on him. And Grady Jarrett, back end of his career, but like I'm sure they saw the value there, right? Just from the veteran, hearing him talk this offseason, I'm like, hell yeah, I love this dude. I don't know how much he's going to give them on the field. Hopefully something, but to your point, it's just like sometimes they're like, for the most part, you're paying for like what you're projecting the future to look like for a player, and you try to avoid paying a big sum for a player's past production. That's kind of how it played out with some of those players in the draft that you're talking about.
The Grady Jarrett signing is a Mercedes Lewis signing. You could just call it that. The guy gets signed every year, and
Mercedes Lewis he's like a classic car at this.
No, I know, but somehow he's still in football. So
that it is crazy that he's still playing.
Can I?
He's like
pivot?
47 years old.
Can I pivot real quick and ask the two other NFC, like, what are the Bears? How are you guys feeling about your teams?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Because but that's a big part of this is a big part of the equation.
I thought you were going to ask me how I'm feeling about the Bears, and I was like, that was a really hard question to answer for me. I was really thinking about that.
Because I'm asking because it's like there's the Bears hype, and the Bears finished dead last in the division. They have an extremely difficult schedule, and part of that is the NFC North. So where are you guys at with your teams? I want the insider look here from you two. Go ahead, Vito.
I just want to say, I'll let you speak, Ryan. I just want to say, before Ryan talks, I just want to say how Ryan thinks that his coordinators did nothing for the Lions, and they're just going to be awesome no matter what. So go ahead, Ryan.
I actually can't stand my brother right now. I need to be away from him, like, totally. No, that's not true. Our coordinators are great, and they deserve the jobs they got. But I'm feeling great. Am I a little uneasy that we have two new coordinators? Yeah, like, I'm not going to lie about it. I think any Lions fan who says they're not worried about that switch at all is lying to themselves. But I'm going to rely on our talent and our head coach. Like, our head coach, like, a question came out the other day I saw, like, who's the face of the Detroit Lions? Is it Jared Goff? Is it Gibbs? It's Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell is the face of our team, and that's not something you usually say about a head coach in the NFL. Like, it's not like college where it's Nick Saban for Alabama every year. Like, as long as we have Dan Campbell, I'm good. That guy has my full trust, not to mention Brad Holmes. We still have talent all over the place, and it's young talent. What was that PFF list that came out this week? Like, Lions have like 8
I'm so
guys.
sick of that, hearing that list.
Hey, it is what it is. Is it because you guys don't have that many players under 25 that are awesome? Like, I can just start listing them off. So I guess my point is, like, regardless of whoever's calling the shots, I'm going to rely on the talent we have that's been together for years now, by the way, to take us there as long as we're healthy.
So you're a big Jimmy and Joe's over X's and O's kind of guy, you might say. Talent.
In so many words, Matt. Yes.
Talent overall.
Yeah.
No,
hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
All right. You see what you did, Matt?
Write that down, kids. If you got your kids in the car, have them write that down. What about you, Moran? How are you feeling about, the Packers offseason, what they did, their outlook heading into 2025, concerns, stuff you're excited about? Where do you sit?
The thing I'm most concerned about is the thing I shouldn't be concerned about, so I'm concerned about the offense, which is crazy to say because Love got hurt last year, and we know he wasn't himself. I truly believe we're going to have a top 5 defense in football. You guys can laugh. That's fine. But I was excited to talk about my thoughts about the Bears. So if you guys want to do that.
Sure. Yeah. I was just curious, like, gauging the hype of the other teams.
I truly think we're going to win the division. I didn't think that last year. Maybe I did, but.
Oh, you thought you put money on the Super Bowl. What are you talking about?
No, the Super Bowl is different. I'm putting more money on the Super Bowl this year. It happens. But, like, my goal, like, my dream this year would be we win the division, the Bears are in second, and the Lions are in third. That would be everything I've ever wanted.
Why? Why is that your dream?
Because I want Ben Johnson to fail, but I want him to do better than Campbell, if that makes sense.
Bro, so KP's new here. Let me explain this. Moran is the biggest hater you'll ever meet in your entire life. He's like the Lex Luthor of this podcast. Just perpetually hating on everything good.
The thing I hated this year about Lions fans was the slobbing they did for Ben Johnson. The slobbing. like literally like
Right.
balls deep slobbing, you know?
All right. Well,
And-
now, we got 3 slobbers in here because now you got 2 Bears and myself. You
No,
had
no.
the number 1 offense in football, and we could not be stopped.
Hold on, let me
It's
finish.
like the hot dog gif. Just
There you go.
Literally. And then when the playoffs rolled around and they laid an egg, oh, Ben Johnson was looking at other drops. He was already 1 foot out. So sick of that guy.
That's
just
apples and oranges. Those are 2 different situations.
Yeah, but to answer your question, KP, I'm very excited about the Packers. I think we're going to do big things this year. I do think we're winning the Super Bowl. I truly believe that. And I think our defense, if our cornerback position is solidified, whether it's Jair coming back and not being hurt, Nate Hobbs stepping up, or maybe Kalen King makes an appearance. You guys will learn about Kalen King this year. I'm excited.
I'm not familiar. Moran, before we get out, let's get also your Bears thoughts, like your 10,000-foot Bears view.
So again, I like what you guys did off-season wise. I'm not going to hate on that. I just think it's very Philadelphia Eagles dream team-esque repeating. And I think we
would take that for the record.
Yeah, absolutely. But I know I've learned this big word today, continuity. I just believe in it. So I don't think I think it's going to play a big factor. And I actually agree with KP. I think the overhype on Genty, I think your run game's going to be fine. I think the receiving core, you guys invested a lot. And we'll see if it's a burden. No pun intended.
I mean, I realize what I'm about to say. You could say this about every team, even if a team had a ton of them. But the Bears, and Ben Johnson talked about it today, they have to have more explosive plays offensively. I mean, this is not like breaking news, but they do. And that's the hope with Ben Johnson, is finding ways to space out these receivers like Rome and DJ and getting Loveland involved. Be more explosive. You know, I felt like at times Caleb, they weren't exactly connecting on a ton of deep balls. Maybe sometimes Caleb was trying to thread some of the shorter passes a little too much. But I will say one other thing about Caleb too, which I've said, the different sort of feeling I have with Caleb is his late game stuff, where it just feels different. Where as Bears fans know what it's like to just have your soul crushed in late game situations, whether it's from Aaron Rodgers or Favre or whoever it is, those great quarterbacks. And I'm just using this as the, like, why I'm a little bit more hyped about Caleb than maybe other quarterbacks or even some Bears fans, is the late game stuff, because a Mahomes and Allen, they have the ball late, right? They have one timeout and a minute and a half, and they're at their own 30, and we're all watching the game being like, yeah, it's over. Of course they're going to get the team down the field and get the field goal or score a touchdown or whatever it is. And obviously not putting him on that level, but we saw Caleb do it multiple times last year. We saw him do it he did it twice against Washington, and they still lost. That's how bad the Bears were. They fumbled at the goal line with the Waldron, what the hell's his name? The fumble. Doug Kramer fumble. Then they get it back. He drives them down the field again. They score a touchdown. They get the 2-point conversion. They still lose. Think about the Detroit game, right? With the timeouts. The Minnesota game, when he got the field goal, they went to overtime, but they lost. Like, the Green Bay
first Packers game, they blocked the field goal.
The first Packer game, the last Packer game.
You guys should have beat the Packers twice last year.
Yeah, but like Caleb, Matt, can you remember a quarterback that did that more than once in his time with the Bears? Like, it probably happened, but I just have a different...
As a Bears fan, I can't even remember it happening once.
Right. And it happened multiple times last year, and they were so bad and dysfunctional, they didn't even win some of those games when he put them in position to win those games. So I think with Caleb, I think he just has that... I'm really avoiding like the clutch gene cliche here, but
say it.
I didn't say clutch gene, but it does feel like late game. He's one of those guys that's just going to find a way. That's one of the reasons I have that is added to the excitement for me about Caleb and the idea of him as the long-term solution.
So I'm that guy. You said excitement, so I'm going to bring it down for you. Let's talk first quarter of the season. What's worst case scenario for the Bears, and what's best case scenario? First 4 games.
First 4, so it's Minnesota, Detroit, Dallas, and then what's the week 4?
Browns.
Yeah, it's Browns. I think Packers Browns is week 3. So,
For me, I'm not even really that concerned about the record. If the Bears are 4-0, if the Bears are 2-2, if the Bears are 1-3, honestly, I don't. Oh, week 4 is the Raiders, and
Yeah.
The Raiders in Vegas. Yeah,
That's not an easy start.
I just want to see, like, if we look better in week 2 than we did in week 1, and better in week 3 than we did in week 2, even if
growth.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, if it feels like I don't want to yell at my TV, what is that guy doing, more than like once a game, and that'll feel like a win regardless of outcome. Obviously, I hope we win more games than we lose, but like, if I feel like the team is well coached and I feel like Caleb is ascending and getting better, like, he's what matters. That's it. If he's good, like, the Bears will be good.
So real quick, it's my turn to say something obvious. Being a good coordinator doesn't automatically mean you're going to be a good head coach.
Here
Okay.
we go. He's shitting on Ben Johnson
No,
again.
I'm not.
sure.
No, I'm
For
not.
sure.
Let me finish. We hired a defensive coordinator who won Super Bowls and always had a top 10 defense every year for this dynasty, and he crashed and burned. And look, let me finish before you start hating again. Okay? I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that any good educator knows the difference between proficiency and growth, right? In your first year as a head coach, growth is exactly what you want to see. I don't think any Bears fan should expect to go 3-1 in those first 4 games just because Ben Johnson is there. Ben Johnson has to learn how to be a head coach because it's a lot harder than just calling plays as an offensive coordinator and being explosive. He's running the whole show now, and he had a great head coach before in Dan Campbell, and now he's that guy. So he also has pressure to prove himself, just like Caleb does. The Bears are such an interesting team this year.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
It's going to be awesome to watch regardless of how it goes, I think.
It should be a ton of good stuff. I mean, good division. Oh, definitely excited for the season. You guys got anything else you want to chat about before we get out of here?
Well, I'm gonna invite KP back when we do the predicting show because I want to have a bunch of predictions from a bunch of people. So when we run through the schedule, if you don't mind joining us, it could be like a 10-minute thing.
Yeah.
It's my way of putting you on blast when the Bears suck again. So I'm gonna do it.
Brother, we've been on blast for 30 years.
We have to wait all the way to December 7th to see Caleb beat your beloved Packers.
That is actually nuts that we have to wait that long. I have a bone to pick with the NFL, but I don't matter. So
it's nothing. I don't know what the schedule.
You're part owner of the Green Bay Packers. Of course you matter.
Yeah. Can't you next time you go to the ownership meeting, Moran, let them know.
I'll be there July 4th, so I'll let them know.
Nice callback.
KP, before we get out of here, let the people know where they can find you if you want to be found. We got tons of people that are probably looking to check out some Bears content. So where can we find you on the Twitter, the Gram? Where are we getting you?
Yeah, the Twitter's at KPowell720, Instagram Kevin Powell 720 WGN. I think I have that right, but on the radio, 1 to 7 every day, and WGN Radio Football Podcast, which we will be ramping up more episodes with the off-season program moving on, and then once training camp gets going and the season gets going, it's rapid fire. So I would love to come back on with you guys anytime.
Awesome, man. Well, KP, thanks again. Definitely check out the WGN Radio Football Podcast, my personal favorite Bears podcast. Obviously not the pretty much number 1 NFC North podcast, so can't hold that against Kevin.
Almost there.
You could find us, as you guys know, on TikTok at Honolulu Cheese Podcast, on Instagram at Honolulu Cheese Podcast, on X at Honolulu Cheese. If you want to follow me direct, I'm at Chung Diesel. Moran is at Moran Hit'em.
What is it?
It's M. Hassan. You got it wrong, by the way, last week.
Yeah, that's my bad. It's M. Hassan because I was obsessed with Jay-Z when I was younger. He was S. I'm
Find
down.
Moran's,
So
Moran's
yeah.
burner if you need it, and we'll get out of here. Moran, have a safe trip to Nashville. Congrats to the happy couple getting married, and Ryan, take us home, baby.
All right. And as always, may your Kool-Aid stay blue.
And your head stay cheesy.
Bear down. Thanks, guys.
Let's go. Peace out.
Thanks, fellas.